Dear viewers, Drishti IS presents to you a new program, Editorial Analysis. In this program, we will analyze editorials published in major English newspapers such as the Hindu, Indian Express, etc. for effective understanding of students. In this program, we will mainly focus on three things: establishing link of the editorial to UPSC syllabus, understanding the main points of editorial, and discussing important concepts mentioned in editorial or which are necessary to understand the editorial. Hope you all like this new initiative of Drishti IS. Please feel free to give us suggestions and opinions. So starting with editorial analysis for today. Today's editorial has been taken up from the Indian Express, which came by the name A Lending Hand, and it talks about the recent center support extended to the state governments in view of COVID-19 pandemic and the constrained state resources. You can link it under GS2 with functions and responsibilities of union and states, devolution of powers and finances up to local levels and challenges therein, and government policies and interventions for development in various sectors. Under GS3 also you can link it with Indian economy and issues relating to mobilization of resources. Under the key points, the editorial discusses that over the past few weeks, several state governments had been urging the center to relax their fiscal deficit limits. As you all know, the state's fiscal deficit limits are fixed at 3% under the FRBM Act, which states were finding difficult to comply with, and hence they were urging the center to relax this limit of 3% on account of the stress in their finances due to COVID-19 pandemic. The finance minister finally have acceded to their request, and on Sunday when the final tranche of Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan was announced, this limit was relaxed from 3% to 5% of GSDP, that is gross state domestic product, allowing the states to borrow an additional 4.2 lakh crores under this 2% increase in the FRBM limit, which will provide them the resources to fight the pandemic, that is COVID-19, and help them maintain their budgeted expenditure allocations. One major concern that is cropped up with respect to state governments, that while allowing the states to borrow more, the center has actually put forth certain conditions, and if the states comply with these conditions, only would they be able to access the entire limit of this 2% of GSDP, and if they do not comply with these conditions, they will not be allowed to borrow further. And as you would know that for certain states it may not be possible to carry out the reforms. These conditions are basically reforms which the center wants states to implement in various sectors, and in case the states are not able to carry out these reforms, they would be forced to cut back on their spending, as they won't be able to borrow more from the market, because you can only borrow more if you comply with these conditions, which are actually reforms. If states are not able to borrow, obviously they would cut back on their spending, and cutting back on their spending would lead to a contractionary fiscal impulse. Now, right now, what we need is an expansionary fiscal impulse. Now, what is expansionary and contractionary fiscal impulse? Expansionary means, as you all know, that it was a lockdown situation till recently, and hence the economy is going under stress. The GDP has fallen, and to stimulate this economy, the government would need certain push in the market. The government would need to push the liquidity in the market through various reforms by either cutting the taxes or giving the relief packages, giving money in the hands of people. Either ways, the government will have to put the money in the market so that the economy gets a push. When government pushes this liquidity impulse in the market, it is called expansionary fiscal impulse. However, if the government starts cutting back on its spending, that is, it holds on to the resources that it has and doesn't allow its money to go into the market, it's actually leading to contractionary fiscal impulse. And as you can figure out right now, what we need is expansionary fiscal policy and not the other way around. So this would further stress down the economy, and it's not good for either the center or the state in the long run if we are looking forward to pushing the economy. Now, what are these conditions and what is the fiscal package for the states that center has extended? We will see. Net borrowing ceiling for the states for 2021 was initially decided at rupees 6.41 lakh crore, which was 3% of their GSDP. 75% of this 3% was already authorized in March, and when they would want to withdraw this 75% was left to the state itself. However, as per the center, the states borrowed only 14% of this limit and 86% still remains unutilized. That of this 75%, which was actually 3% of GSDP. So center had authorized them to borrow 75%, of which they have actually borrowed only 14%, and 86% of this 75% is still remaining. However, since states were urging the center to increase the borrowing limits, the center has gone ahead increasing this very limit from 3% to 5%. Instead of 6.41 lakh crores, now there would be additional 4.28 lakh crores. There are other help that had already been extended by the center again, and the center has said that out of the budget estimates, rupees 46,000 crore had already been devolved to the states. Then they were already given 12,390 crore for their revenue deficit grants, and 11,092 crore were given under state disaster response fund, and 4,000 crore were given under anti-COVID activities. So this is the amount that center had already given to the states. The center has also requested RBI to help the states by increasing their ways and means advance limit. Their overdraft period for states has also been increased from 14 to 21 days. And continuous overdraft period in a quarter has been raised from 32 to 50 days. So this ways and means was initially 30%, which has been extended to 60%. That is just the double. So this is the measures extended by RBI. In return for this, the central government wants the state to undergo certain reform measures. So to ensure that whatever extra money they are taking, in return they go on with certain reforms so that there is good GSDP growth and they are able to pay back the money that they are taking. The part of the borrowing that the states would be taking would be linked to specific reforms. These are linked to promotion of welfare of migrants and reduce leakage in food situation, increased job creation through investment, safeguard interest of farmers, and making power sector, that is, this is linked to DISCOMs basically, making power sector sustainable, promote urban development, health and sanitation. So as you can see, this is in the urban area. This is for the agriculture, this is for industries, this is for migrants and reduced leakage. So all these reforms are asked by center. However, there are certain specific reforms upon which only facility for the states would be available. These is being notified by Department of Expenditure on the following pattern. So this additional 2% of GSDP loan that is being extended by the center to the states, it has conditionalities, which are unconditional increase of 0.5%. So out of this 2%, 0.5% debt you can take up unconditionally. The next 1% you would be able to take in 4 tranches of 0.25%, which are linked to these 4 reforms. If out of these 4 you are able to make reforms in at least 3 of these sectors, whatever remaining 0.5% remaining debt you would be able to access. And these 4 reform areas are universalization of one nation, one ration card, ease of doing business, power distribution companies, that is DISCOMs, and urban local body revenue. The editorial further says that as per guidelines laid down by center, the first tranche of additional borrowings, that is 0.5%, would be unconditional as we saw. Next 1% would be linked to ease of doing business, one nation, one ration card scheme, power distribution companies, and urban local bodies revenue. So this was 0.5%, this is 1%, and remaining 0.5% would only be given if at least 3 of these are being done in the reform area. Now, how constitutional is this demand of the center from the states is while imposing these conditions when they want to borrow more? Under Article 293 Clause 1, if you see in the Constitution, the states have the authority to borrow. However, the central government can exercise control or put conditions on this borrowing through Article 293 Clause 3, which requires state governments that are indebted to the center, that if they have already taken the debt from the center, they cannot freely go out and borrow more. They'll have to seek consent of the center before borrowing. And while seeking this consent, center can give an unconditional consent as it has given for the initial 0.5%, or it can put certain conditionalities as it has done for the next 0.5 and 1% of the debt. Article 293 Clause 3 was referred to the 15th Finance Commission, and the center had submitted to the commission to take into account the conditions that the center may impose. So it had asked the Finance Commission to give a list of conditions that center can impose on the states while exercising its powers under Article 293 Clause 3. However, 15th Finance Commission is yet to submit its final report, and meanwhile the center has gone ahead putting on these conditionalities on the states. In conclusion, the editorial says that state government should be encouraged into undertaking contentious reforms. Obviously, these reforms are necessary either for ease of doing business or one nation, one ration card, or for power discoms or urban local bodies. However, there is a time and a way of doing things. And right now, when the states are already under the crisis, putting conditions to their borrowings is best avoided. The ultimate responsibility of fighting this COVID-19 falls on the states, and they need to be assured of the resources, and hence the conditions imposed on additional borrowings of the state should be eased, and this strict condition of abiding by these 4 reform areas should be relaxed for the time being. Let us see the key concepts. Now, we were talking about fiscal deficit limits that the states wanted to be eased and which has been eased from 3% to 5%. What is this fiscal deficit? It's basically the difference between total income of the government, that is total taxes, and non-debt capital receipts. That is, if you haven't taken any debt, then what are your receipts and what are your total expenses? It is the difference between these two, that is total expenditure minus total receipts. So this would make your fiscal deficit, and you have to exclude the borrowings from it. If you include the borrowings, then it is not fiscal deficit. It's basically the amount of money you would need to borrow in case you are under fiscal deficit. Fiscal deficit situation occurs when the government's expenditure exceeds its income. That is why we have written expenditure before and then the revenue, because expenditure is increasing, only then you would enter a situation of fiscal deficit. The deficit is plugged by the government by borrowing. Total borrowing requirements of government in a financial year is equal to the fiscal deficit in that year. Suppose if states are registering 5% fiscal deficit of GSDP under the new norms, that means they will have to borrow 5% of their GSDP in the next year. And as per FRBM Act, these limits for fiscal deficit have been fixed by 3% of GSDP for the states. And this has been done to maintain the fiscal discipline so that states do not go overboard in borrowing. Now next is ease of doing business, one of the reforms that center has mandated for the states. Now this report is published by, this index is published by World Bank, and it measures the countries that how good is their environment for the ease of doing business for anybody in the country. And certain parameters are ease of starting a business, dealing with construction permits, electricity, registration of property, getting credit, protecting minority investors, paying taxes, trading across borders, enforcing contracts, and resolving insolvency. So as you know, India has been doing really good in ease of doing business, and as of 2020 report, India has jumped 14 places to get the 63rd rank in ease of doing business from 77th the previous year out of 190 countries. This is One Nation, One Ration Card scheme, and this would come through from 1st of July, and it basically allows the portability of food security benefits across the country. That is, if you have a ration card, you can use it across the country anywhere. What are the benefits of this? There is going to be interoperability of ration card, that is, beneficiaries from one state would be able to get rations in other states as well. And this is important because of the migrant situation. As you know, migrants come from different states to work in other states, and they do not have ration card of the states where they are right now residing. So they miss out on all the benefits of the ration card. Once this scheme comes through, One Nation, One Ration Card scheme, they won't be denied of their rightful share of the rations, that is subsidized rations. This will also empower the consumers, as now they will be able to access the dealer of their choice. Suppose you go to a shop and the dealer is not behaving kindly with you and it's misbehaving or misallocating, you can easily switch the FPS shop instantly without foregoing your ration. It would also reduce social discrimination, especially because in a local setting, everybody knows your identity, your caste, your gender, everything they know. So there discrimination along these lines. However, if One Nation, One Ration Card is made applicable, now a person from Bihar can go to Tamil Nadu and access his ration card, and he won't be or she won't be facing such social discrimination as was prevalent in his hometown or home district. And it would also help in achieving sustainable development goal, that is SDG 2, and which is related to ending hunger by 2020. So these are the benefits. Now we also spoke about Article 293. Under Article 293 Clause 1, the states can borrow within territory of India. Upon the security of the consolidated fund of the state, they can borrow from anywhere. However, how much can they borrow is fixed by the legislature of state, and it fixes the guarantee on the borrowing. So legislature makes the rule with respect to the limits to borrowings. Under Article 293, the central government loans to states is fixed under Article 293 Clause 2. Now this is where the center helps out the state. The central government gives guarantee in respect of loans raised by any state from within the country. Clause 1, states can borrow from anywhere within the territory of India. They are free to do so, and limit is imposed by their own legislature. Under Clause 2, the states borrow from the center, and under this itself, because they are already borrowing under Clause 2, if they want to borrow further, then Clause 3 puts a condition on the states, because they have already taken some money from the center, and the guarantee for this falls upon Consolidated Fund of India. Here it was Consolidated Fund of State, here it is India. Hence, they cannot go and borrow any further without the consent of the center or government of India if there is any outstanding loan on any part of the state. And the guarantee is on the government of India, that is Consolidated Fund of India. Hence, the center can impose any condition on states with respect to further loan if they want to borrow more. Now recently center wanted to simplify this Article 293 Clause 3, because the states needed to require quarterly consent from the central government for borrowings. Under the net borrowing ceiling, that how much can they finally borrow, the 14th Finance Commission had fixed some limit, and center wanted this limit to be relaxed, and for this it had approached the 15th Finance Commission. However, before the recommendations would come through, the center has already imposed the limit. What was the purpose why the center wanted to simplify this Article 293 Clause 3? To ensure a push to cooperative federalism, so that states are not overtly dependent on center's consent for everything, bring in the transparency and predictability in the borrowings by the states. So these were the two goals because of which it had referred the matter to the 15th Finance Commission.